I managed to do that all on myself. Everything else is from him. On May 19th, no, I'm going to go back even further than that. On May 17th, I woke up and I had a very, very large mass on my neck. And I was having extreme trouble breathing and swallowing. And it got to the point where I couldn't even swallow water. And I told my wife, I said, I need to go to the emergency room and see what's going on here, because I was just, it wasn't normal. You know, I go to bed, I'm fine, I wake up and I got this huge mass in my neck. It's generally not a good thing to do. So my wife, who sits on the board of directors of 25 nursing home and assisted living homes, had a board of directors meeting that morning on Zoom, so she couldn't go with me. And I said, don't worry, I'm a big boy, I can handle it, I can go. So I drove myself to the Willow Park Emergency Room in Fort Worth, Texas, well, in Weatherford, Texas. I walked in, and of course, like all emergency rooms, you know, you're going to wait. I walked in, and fortunately, there wasn't anybody in there. It was a small town, standalone, and I walked up, and they said, "Is there something wrong?" I'm going like, "No." Okay. Yes, I'm having trouble swallowing, breathing. Oh, okay. Well, let's fill out this paperwork. So we fill out all the paperwork, and you got your insurance? Yeah. And they take me into the back, into the, they have these little rooms back there, and there's a table, you know, the kind of, you probably all see them, they come up in the back and fold down, and an uncomfortable mattress, and a little steel stool, and a machine there that they can put stickers on you do your EKG and stuff like that, a little pole. No TV, nothing. I'm going, okay, this is going to be fun. So they said, all right, well, the first thing they did was they hooked up the EKG monitors on me, you know, those little sticky things. I'm going, look, it's my heart is fine, okay? They didn't put anything on that, just all over the place. They're going to take readings. Said, well, the doctor will be in a little bit. Do you ever wait for a doctor? They have a whole new schedule of time, okay? And it's not on ours. So I waited, but it wasn't too bad. It was maybe a half hour or so. And he came in, and he says, okay. He says, let's see. So he starts poking and prodding, and he says, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start to see if we can figure out what's wrong with this. And he says, we're going to take a CAT scan, we're going to draw blood, and we'll start there and see what we can find out. Okay, it took him half hour to figure that out, and about 30 seconds to tell me what he's going to do, and he left. He said the nurse will be in to get you and take you down for them. And okay. So she comes walking in there, rolling a wheelchair. I'm going, what's the wheelchair for? I can walk. I have a mass in my, well, we just have to take you in a wheelchair. Okay, so now they put me in the wheelchair. She wheels me on down. They do a CAT scan. They drew blood, and then she takes me back to that little room and sets me in that little room and says, the doctor will be back to see you. And I'm going, okay. Well, that was a lot longer than he'll be in to see you. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. You ever been in you know those tiles that are on the ceiling that have those little holes in the little styrofoam things, you know? 757 holes in each tile. I know that because I had nothing else to do but count them. So I waited and waited and waited, and he came in finally. And he comes in, and he sits down on that little silver stool. And that little silver stool with the wheels, you've all seen them. There's a story about that. I found out why they have wheels on them. I'll explain it. So he sits down, he looks at me, he says, okay. He says, you want it straight? Well, that's not a good way to open the line. Do I want it straight? That usually means there's bad news in here. I said, yes, that's fine. You know, I'm brave. He said, okay, well, we got the blood test back. We got the CAT scan back, and I sent it out to 2 other doctors. I sent it out to an oncologist, and I sent it out to another doctor outside of the hospital, and then I looked at him, and we all reviewed him, and I'm going like, an oncologist? I know what an oncologist is, okay? That's somebody who deals with cancer. But he kind of glossed over that part. He says, and we all 3 came to the same conclusion. We believe this is a diagnosis of a new form, a very aggressive form of cancer. He says, and it needs to be dealt with immediately. He says, we're about 99.9% sure that it's cancer based on the blood test and everything else and the mass. And I'm going, okay. He says, the oncologist has opened up an appointment for you on noon on Monday. You need to go in there and see him immediately. Don't put this off. Don't blow it off. His words, not mine. He said, you need to address this. It's very aggressive. And I'm saying, okay. Well, they gave me some steroid shots and antibiotics and all. You know, they're going to throw whatever they got at it, I guess, whatever it is. And I'm going like, okay. And he gave me the card. And he says, okay, well, you know, just make sure you go see him. I'm going like, okay. So now I check out and I get in the car and I drive home. And on the way home, I'm thinking, how do I tell my wife this? You know, I mean, before I wasn't a very nice guy. I'll tell you that right now. I was very, I don't say this proudly, I was very arrogant, I was very domineering. You know, I was in the military and the government for a long time, and it was just the nature of the beast. And I said, well, how am I going to tell her? Because, you know, this is something I haven't dealt with. You know, I used to joke about, you know, man flu stuff. Oh, I got a cold. Oh, I'm going to die. You know, men, you know what I'm talking about. Don't sit there like you don't. You know what man flu is. And I felt, well, the best thing I could do would be tell her straight. Just pull the bandage off and tell her. So I walked in, and my wife was at the a little counter we have in the middle of the kitchen, and she was standing there, and I walked in. She said, well, what'd they say? And I blurted out, well, they said they're about 99% sure I got cancer. I need to go see an oncologist on Monday at noon. And they said it's very aggressive and it's nothing to joke about. And my wife looked at me and she said, that's right. That's nothing to joke about. That's not funny. And I said, I'm not joking. I took the card for the oncologist, and she looked at that and looked at me and kind of got white. And she went, whoa. Okay. All righty then. We'll just deal with it and see what we have to do. And then she took it pretty well. We started making plans, adjusting to go make sure we went on, doing what we had to do to go see the oncologist and everything on Monday. And I never made it to Monday. Friday, the swelling, it subsided when they gave me some of the antibiotics and the steroids. It subsided a little bit, but it started coming back with a vengeance. I mean, it was just really growing. And by Friday, about mid-afternoon Friday, I literally couldn't. I was getting dizzy. I couldn't focus. I had blurry vision. And my wife has these little oximeters or something. I don't know what they call them. I'm not the doctor. You put it on your finger to measure your oxygen. And she put it on there, and it was at that point, about 87. And they said, if you get below 90, you need to go to an emergency room immediately. So the fact that I couldn't swallow water, I couldn't swallow anything. I mean, I couldn't do anything. And it was just, I knew it was not good. I never would admit I was sick. I'm the man. I'm going to be tough. I wasn't so tough. Let me tell you, you don't get oxygen, you get weak real quick. So, my wife says, we're going to an emergency room, and we're going downtown Fort Worth. We're going to a major hospital. We're not going to play around with this. And I says, well, that's fine. I says, you're going to have to drive. She knew something was seriously wrong at that point, because I won't let her drive anywhere. I was going to control it. I didn't feel safe enough to even do that. So we left. We went downtown Fort Worth on Friday. Got down there about 6:30 Friday night. I told her on the way, I said, just drop me off at the entrance, park the car, I'll meet you inside. She says, okay. She drove up, let me get out at the emergency room entrance. I got out. She went to park the car. I walked through the door. Now, this is Friday night, 6:30, at a major metropolitan hospital in a major city, Fort Worth, Texas. I got exactly what I should have got. I walked through the door, and there were 14 people in line waiting to check in to the emergency room. And the room was all full, and I'm going, ugh. I was at the other one for almost a half a day, and there was nobody there but me. So this is going to be a long time. So I walked in, and I got in line, and I'm weebling and wobbling, hoping I didn't fall down, you know. The old weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I wasn't quite sure anymore. So I'm standing there, and the nurse behind the glass, there's a glass partition there and sliding glass doors. You don't get to go back and see the doctors unless they open that door. She kind of leaned over to the right and looked at me and says, "Are you okay?" And it was all I could do to get out was, not really. I can't breathe, I can't swallow, and I can't focus. I don't know if I'm going to fall over, pass out, what, I don't know what. And she did a quick triage, I guess, in her mind. She says, "You go back up right now." And she hit the button, and the door opens. I'm going to be obedient. Now, I'm listening to women. You know, that's how. You say go, okay, I'm gone. So I started walking. Now, of course, I'm walking around. These other 14 people standing in line, and they're looking at me like, who's this guy think he is? I don't know whether I'm going to have to fight these guys or what, you know. We've been here for hours, and this clown walks in, and he gets to go right back. So I went back. I got through the doors, and the doctor met me immediately. So she must have also had a button to call the doctor, because usually you go back there and wait too. So I met the doctor. He sat me down, pulled a green curtain back, said, "Sit down here." He starts doing his exam. He brought out stuff out, tried to get me oxygen up my nose. Still couldn't get oxygen levels up. It was still going down. To make this part shorten, he decided he needed to intubate me immediately. Now, what that is they took a tube and they put it down your throat, and then they take an oxygen tube and put it down that so you can get oxygen straight in. So he decided he needed to intubate me because my oxygen point at that was down to about 85, 86%, which is not good. And it was going down. He started taking me in the back to intubate me. My wife came in about that time and met the doctor and he told her, "We need to intubate him." And my wife says, "Whatever you need to do it." So they went in the back. Of course, they put me to sleep to put the tube down. And it's probably a good thing, because I'd have tried to eat that tube. If you try to shove a tube down my throat while I'm awake, it's not happening. It won't happen. So they put me to sleep, and they put the intubation tube in, and they admitted me to the intensive care unit immediately. Now, what I'm telling you now, I didn't witness them admit me to the ICU. I was asleep. But I'm reading the records. So I'm just quoting what was in the records right now. That's the other unique thing about this, is it didn't happen at home. Everything was recorded and documented. So they admitted me to the ICU. They didn't get me up there until, as the records say, until about midnight, because they had to get the room ready. So I laid down in there until about midnight. They finally admitted me up there. Of course, I'm getting oxygen, so my oxygen level's coming up and everything. All the stats are looking good now, except, you know, we're going to figure out what this other stuff is. And I laid there. I came off the anesthesia and stuff, and I laid there fairly comfortable, doing well, breathing, except for the tube. I couldn't talk at this point because you got a tube down my throat. I mean, it's pretty tough to talk. I was doing pretty good until Sunday. Sunday comes around, the doctor came in and looked at the stats and everything and says, "Well, he's doing pretty good, he's breathing." Yeah, let me tell you something. You don't get oxygen, and then you do get oxygen, you are one happy camper. You don't know what it's like. You think you get thirsty? Thirsty has nothing to do with no oxygen. Believe me, it has nothing. So I'm sitting there, or I was laying there, actually in the ICU room number 7. Lucky 7, right? So I'm laying there, and the doctor comes in and looks at everything, looks at the charts, and my wife is there with her and says, well, let's see how he does without the tube, see if he can breathe on his own. And I'm all for that. This wasn't comfortable having this down my throat. And I'm going like, yeah, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to get out of this place now. Okay? So she asked my wife to leave the room while they extubated me. They take the tube out. Because you never know what's going to happen. I don't know, you may throw up. There's no telling what's going to happen. It's not a normal function of your body to have that in there to start with. So she pulled it out, invited my wife back in, and my wife and her, she stayed in there for about, as the medical records say, for about 30 to 35 minutes. Observing, I'm breathing well, I'm playing with my wife, I'm poking her, I'm the same mean old self now. I'm getting out of here, except for this big old thing of cancer. That cancer is nothing, everybody gets that. They can fix it, right? Being a tough guy. Yeah, I found out I wasn't tough at all. So they were in there for about 30, 35 minutes, and the doctor thought it was, okay, good. So they got me all off the machines and everything. So I know I'm not hooked up to nothing. I got nothing going in. I'm doing good. I'm breathing. I'm getting oxygen. I'm happy. I'm thinking good. Woo, get me out of here. The golf game's coming on TV. I got to go. My wife and the doctor went out by the nurse's station. She's going to talk to her. I guess I figured, maybe she's working on discharge baby. I don't know what she's doing. Okay. But I know I was happy. Got oxygen. I'm not connected to machines. This is all good. This is definitely good. Medical records say they were out there for about 35 to 40 minutes. And in that 35 to 40 minutes, that mass that was on my neck rolled over my airway, and I suffocated to death. They didn't know it. They're out there talking. My wife comes back in to give me the good news. She's the one that found me dead. Laying there, flatline, no heartbeat, no nothing. I was, as one pastor said, graveyard dead. She immediately runs out. Of course, I was blue, purple, black, purple, whatever you call it. You get weird things happen to you when you don't get oxygen because your body starts eating itself. She ran to the door and hollered, he's blue, come quick, come quick, come quick. Now, I know she said exactly that because that's exactly what the doctors put in their notes. Now, that's something I did not know, that every doctor in there, they keep their own, when they have to write down in their notes, type them, exactly what was said by everybody in there, including my wife, the doctor said, any other doctor said, everything that took place. And to give you an example, in my situation, when I had doctors and nurses crawling all over everywhere, and that's from the nurses, the doctors, everybody, and there will be, like, in my medical records, there's a note from this doctor, and this doctor, and this doctor, and this doctor, repeating basically the same thing in their own words exactly what happened, as close as they can do it. So my wife hollered at him, come quick, he's blue, he's blue, he's blue, 3 times. And, of course, the doctor came running in. I say came running in. The medical records say that she reported stat to bedside. They got to be fluffy, stuffy, not fluffy, I don't know. So they came in, and I do joke around this a little bit. I found that if I do that, I don't cry as much. When I first started talking, I couldn't get a word out. I still do, but I try to avoid that so I don't look like a total blubbering idiot up here. So the nurse or the doctor ran in, and of course, she discovered, yes, sure enough, he's flatlined. Now, there's a difference between flatline and cardiac, a heart attack or something of that. And I learned that too. I learned a lot when I came back and read medicals, and I went back and I talked to the doctors. But she came in, they hit code blue, and immediately crash carts. Everybody in the world starts coming in there. They chase my wife out. My wife's out there. And I mean, they were crawling under the tube. Now, this part I can tell you because when I died, I was kind of hovering at first above the ICU watching all of this go on. I remember every nurse, every doctor, what they said, what they were doing, everything, because I watched it. And then I kind of drifted out, and I saw my wife, too, crying, devastated. But they were in there doing everything they could. They had a large male nurse that was doing CPR, compressions, trying to get my heart going. And he thought he was Muhammad Ali the way he was breaking ribs. He'd crunch him. And at that time, I weighed about 290 pounds. It's a lot heavier than I am now. And he had to do that to get to the heart. So he's doing the compressions. They're trying to put that intubation tube back down my throat to get oxygen in there, and they couldn't get it in, And somebody finally figured out, that mass is in the way. They kept hitting the mass. So when they hit the mass, they'd hit on the other stuff below that. There was a pocket of stuff under that, and that was banging into my vocal cords, and it was messing everything up. Nicking and caused bleeding. They couldn't get it in, and then they realized, well, we have to do a tracheotomy. So the tracheotomy means that they're going to cut you, and they're going to put a trach in here, right here. And they called it an emergency surgery tracheotomy team or whatever it was that came in to do the surgery on that to get it in. He's still doing compressions. Now, this is 15 minutes he's doing compressions trying to get my heart going. Still couldn't get it going. But they weren't giving up at that point. Team got there. He's bouncing me on the table. I'm bouncing all over the table like this, and this surgeon's got this scalpel, and he's getting ready to cut my throat. Well, a scalpel and bouncing is never a good combination. He cut it crooked. He cut it too large. And then the trach they had didn't fit because it was too small. They had about a hole there around it. But they tried to get it in there anyway. They put it in anyway, and then they tried to squeeze it and tape stuff around the hole so I could, they're just doing what they could to try and get me oxygen and get me alive. Well, that 15 minutes, I had 0 oxygen, 0 heartbeat. That's death right there. There's no recovery. At that point, your brain is eating itself. Every cell in your body has what they call residual oxygen. And when it doesn't get oxygen, it's starving. What it does is it says, I'm going to get that oxygen, and your brain explodes the cells to get that oxygen. Well, when your brain explodes a cell, it destroys it. And with that cell being destroyed, every memory, every function, everything that went with it is gone forever, because those cells never recover. And eventually your brain will eat the entire brain cells to get the oxygen. Now, they say at about 90 seconds, your brain cells are starting to be destroyed. This is not me. This is about Harvard medical journals and everything, that they tell you. At about 3 to 5 minutes, you're probably going to die. You're going to die. Maybe temporarily, but you could still be recovered from that if they can get their heart going and so on. At 10 minutes with 0 oxygen, it's highly unlikely that they'll even be able to get it recovered to the point that you could be, my wife's not here, so I'll say it, a vegetable basically is what it amounts to. She hates it when I use that word. We found out later from talking with the doctors and nurses, they used to refer to me as the potato in room number 7. To distance themselves. They didn't mean to be mean. They're just trying to not get close so that, somebody dying, you get attached to them, I guess. So at 15 minutes, it's absolutely no recovery from that. Your brain has eaten so much away that you're not going to have any functions of any sort. When people had a heart attack, and you'll see people that maybe their left side will be paralyzed, or they'll have trouble talking, or sometimes they can't remember things. That's only from a minute or two with no oxygen. So you can see that at 15 minutes, it's crazy. Well, I wasn't there for the whole time of that. A lot of that I got from my medical records. So I'm going to go back now, and we're going to get to some of the good stuff. So I hovered above my body when I died. I watched what was going on. I went out, and I saw my wife bent over. And I had never seen her cry like that. My wife's pretty tough. And if I took that bottle of water and I poured it in the floor in front of her, that's what it would look like. I mean, her tears were that much. It was just a puddle of tears, literally, not figurative, literally, in the floor. I mean, as far as she knew, her husband was in there dead. And they're doing everything they can to try and get her back. Get him back. I'm not a her. And she was devastated, and I kind of floated back into the ICU, and I looked down, and that fast, I was in heaven. I mean, not a dream, not a vision. I didn't go through a tunnel of lights. I wasn't met by a band of angels. I was just standing in heaven in total awe. I couldn't believe I was there. I mean, I believed in God. I accepted the Lord in '84, and I am so happy I did. God would never got to heaven if I didn't. And I knew it was real because I was there. But I wasn't the person that went to church every day. I didn't read the Bible. I didn't study anything. I was just like, I accept that, and it's kind of, how people do. I was standing there, and I'm looking around, and the first thing is the total, absolute peace, love, and joy that you feel is beyond comprehension. And it's not just like if I tell you I love you, or your husband or your wife tells you that I love you. It's not that. It totally permeates you. It's inside of you. The pastor was talking earlier about, the triune Godhead, the Trinity. And I touched briefly for those that were here that God is love. And the triune Godhead is 3 essence, 3 loves, 3 spirits, 3 functions, all combined into one relationship within himself. God has that relationship within himself because that's what love is. And I'm standing there, and I'm feeling this, and I'm going like, wow. I'm not worried about air. I'm not worried about nothing. I'm just like, wow, I left total chaos and pain, and I'm standing there going like, and then I'm looking around, and a kid in a candy store doesn't even go with it. I remember sometimes and a lot of people too, probably, you'll go someplace and you'll see nature and trees and a beautiful setting, and you go, man, this must be what heaven is like. Nah, that's nothing like heaven is like. That's the first thing I realized. That does not even come close. There's nothing on earth that compares to heaven except his love. When his love, and you feel his love, that's the only thing that you could compare to heaven. Now, there's similarities, but it's no comparison. I'm standing there looking at the trees and flowers, and I was standing what I call outside the inner courtyard. And you've seen these big mansions with mazes of paths and benches and trees and flowers and bushes all perfectly trimmed that go like this and everything. And it was like that, and there was a river of life flowing down through the middle of it. And I remember seeing a silhouette of a man over there. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm like, where do I look next? And I'm looking at the trees. And I tell people we have 43 oak trees in our backyard. And we do. And they're pretty good size. And when I look at the trees in our backyard, I'll look at them from the ground to the top. I'll go, yeah, I mean, that's about what a tree is. Nice trees? Yeah, they're good. They got a lot of leaves sometimes. I know I have to rake them up. Covers the whole yard with leaves. Yeah, you were nice on the tree. Why don't you just stay there? You know. But I'm looking at these trees and I'm going like, I mean, the trees in my backyard were like little tiny dying twigs compared to the trees in heaven. And they're perfect, they're magnificent, they're towering. The colors, the greens, they have greens in the leaves and stuff that we don't even have here. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's not like you look at it, and it's not like three-dimensional. I mean, we're three-dimensional, and you see 3D pictures and they have some big dome that you can see, and you look at it and you go, wow, that's pretty cool. It looks like it's coming at me, 3D glass. This is like Quadra D or something. I don't know. You can't, there's no name for it. I mean, they're just there. They just pop. And you go like, wow. And then I'm looking at the flowers. And I'm going, whoa. And the colors, the beauty. Now, there were flowers there I've never seen. That doesn't mean that we don't have those flowers here on earth. I mean, there's a lot of things on earth I haven't seen. But I know I didn't see any. So there were some that I did recognize, but none of them were the same colors that they had here. Because, number one, there were colors in those flowers that don't even exist. We don't have a name for them. Not a shade of blue or something. I mean, colors that we don't even, you've never seen. And they're beautiful, and they're vibrant, and they're like metallic, and they just, just like, almost like a little glow coming off of them. And I'm taking this in, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm going like, the beauty of it was beyond. My sensory and my brain was on overload. I mean, you just can't even imagine it. And it's hard to describe it because you're describing something that I can't even give a comparison to. And then I'm standing there, and I'm going like, I hear this music, and I'm going like, what here? And it's like white noise, background. Like if you're real quiet, you hear that fan? Some don't. Some might be not as great a hearing, but you hear that fan, or you may hear a fan going overhead, or you may hear something. It doesn't interfere with you talking. It doesn't interfere anything, but it's there constantly. Well, that music was there constantly in the back, and you could stop and you could go, wow. And it was the most beautiful harmonic song and music you've ever heard, ever, ever. There's nothing that we get that's comparison. Now, he's given me some songs, and I don't mean to say this because I get to do them and I like them. But those songs, as he told me, he says, I didn't do this to make you an entertainer. These are messages from me. And every song has a message from him. And the melodies are beyond anything you hear. And they will actually go through you. And that doesn't even touch comparison-wise. Not even... I couldn't even get my fingers close enough together to show how least it compares. But this music was so beautiful. And it was praising Jesus all day long. Let me go back. Not all day long. That's a human term. because there is no day and night. There is no time in heaven. But continuously, let me restate that, okay? I try to keep it as accurate as I can. But continuously, nonstop, praising Jesus. And we all heard, oh, praise Jesus all day long. Well, that's literal. And then, well, where's that coming from? And then I figured it out, along with Jesus' help. He explained it to me later, too. Every tree, every plant, every rock, every flower, everything in nature gives off what I call a little melodic tone or hum. And when they're combined, that's what makes that song praising Jesus all day long. Now, that sounds kind of weird. Well, how does that work? You can see how it works in just a second. Because then I realized that I'm breathing the most beautiful, fragrant air I've ever smelled. Now, I don't mean perfumey like Grandma Tilly's perfume or your uncle or granddad's Old Spice or anything like that, or musk or anything like that, or vanilla. No, it's a scent and a smell that's heavenly. And I go, how is it happening? Wow. And then I also learned that in addition to the little melodic tones and hums, every flower, every plant, every rock, everything in nature, everything gives off its own little personal scent. And just like the music, when combined, that's what makes up the air fragrance that comes. Now, how does it do that? How is it so tuned into God? How is his love coming through that? You see, we also always heard that he's the light. That's literal. You see, in heaven, the light, Jesus' light, he gives off that light, and it permeates everything and everybody in heaven. And I mean, it permeates, goes directly inside of you. And with that light, it contains his love and his peace and his joy. So when that light engulfs you and it embeds through you, it's embedded in you, that's where that peaceful, loving feeling that is continuous. You couldn't get mad if you tried. You couldn't. You just gotta smile. You just go, ugh. No reason. You just feel, it's just that wonderful. You feel that, and that's Jesus. That's his love. That's God's love. That was the triune God, that love that permeates you, and it connects everything and everybody. Now that light and that love and that peace also permeated and entered into each of those trees, those plants, and everything else. So when their scent was given off, when those melodic tones were given off, not like that one, that scent, that air that you're breathing in carries his love and peace in it as well. And it permeates down into you. Because you cannot separate them. You can't separate God. Just like you can't separate the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. You can't separate them. It's one binding, perfect, loving relationship. And that love is what he puts in us through that in heaven. We get a little taste of it down here when we fully embrace his love, because he gives you that same love when he indwells in you and you accept him. And we get, I'm not going to say closer, when you get more, you fully embrace him, you will feel that. We call it getting close. I'm really close to God. Well, you can't get any closer. He lives and he dwells in you. How close do you want him to get? Just embrace him. Fully accept him and know that he's in there. And you will start feeling that love too. It's amazing what he does. His love is unbelievable. It's everything. So I'm standing there And I'm going like, oh, and I'm looking at the flowers, and I'm looking at the trees, and I'm breathing the air, and I'm going like, especially from a man that just wasn't getting any air down there, and I'm going like, this is even better. This is even great air. So now I'm standing, and I look over at what I call the inner courtyard. And I see the man over there. I see a light in the back over here with a silhouette, but this one's closer. I can see this one. And I looked, and it looked like my dad. Now, my dad died in 2011. He died. He died at 92 years old of throat cancer. Ironic, huh? Except I didn't die of throat cancer. He did. I suffocated to death. He was eaten up by that cancer. And you know, it's a cruel, cruel disease. And I looked at him, and I remember what he was like when he died. I mean, it shriveled up and just it was eating him away. And I'm looking at this, and he was vibrant, and he wasn't old. He looked like my dad when he was about 35, 38 years old. I remembered him from my youth. And I'm like, wow, is that really my dad? And I'm going like, okay, I'm going to go over there. So I started to walk over to him. And I walked up to him. And as I approached him, Jesus allowed him to say something to me that only my dad would say. Being in the military and stuff, I've been in a few wars and stuff, and been shot down, blown up. Crazy stuff happens, you know. But every time I'd have something happen, and my dad would come to visit me, and he in the hospital or wherever, and he'd go, well, son, you did it this time, didn't you? And I'd look at him and say, Dad, I didn't do anything. I got shot. I got blown up, whatever it was. I said, I didn't do anything. He said, I know. But it was his way of breaking the ice in a very stressful, tense situation to shed light on it, you know. And then we would talk and so on. And it worked. It was funny, you know. It gave us a little bicker back and forth. Well, when I walked up to him, and I went, of course, now I'm still questioning, going, Dad? And he looks at me and says, yes, son. Well, you really did it this time, didn't you? I said, I didn't do anything. I died. And he says, I know. And so we talked, but he still did it. And he was the only one I ever talked to there. And then when I finished talking with him, that memory was erased of him ever talking with me. And there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that down the road. But I remember standing there and going like, who's that over there? Pointing to the silhouette off in the distance, right? And he goes, who do you think it is? Brilliant me. Same old questioning me. Jesus? Yes, son. It's Jesus. Oh, okay. Of course, you know, I'm rather inquisitive, and I'm going to do something. I said, well, how do I get to see him? How do I get to talk to him? And he goes, well, you walk over there, and as you approach him, you start with your right knee on the ground, and then your left knee on the ground. If there's a conversation to be had, he'll start it. All righty then. I talked to my dad. I said, Dad, I love you. I want to go meet Jesus. So I'm going to start over there. And I go, start to walk up. 1, 2. You know what the doctors did? They've been doing this for 15 minutes. They had to choose that minute to happen. They got my heart started. Now, fortunately, it only lasted about 20 or 30 seconds. But when they did, I was back in my body. Just that fast. In total chaos, pain. I just left I left heaven. No pain, peace, joy, comfort. I'm going to see Jesus, and now you put me back in here. What is wrong with you? Well, my wife's out there, and she's telling them, you do everything. Because they went out to her after the 15 minutes, they couldn't get anything done. Then of course, they got it going, and they went out to talk to her and ask her, what do you want us to do? And they got that out. What do you want us to do? And just about the time they got that out of the ICU room came, we're losing him again, we're losing him, he's gone. And the nurse said to my wife, what do you want us to do? Because they wanted to end it. Everything, disconnect everything right now. That's it, right? It's done. Because they knew what happens to your brain after that 15 minutes with zero oxygen. And that 15 minutes was from the time they entered the room. They don't know, and I don't tell them that time because I don't know either, exactly within that first 35 minutes that I was in there by myself, when that mask rolled over. I can't point to a record and say that happened there. So we just count the time with no oxygen from when they were in there, observing and recording. And my wife looked at him and says, you do everything you can. The nurse ran back in and says, his wife said, do everything you can. And they did, reluctantly. And here's why. Remember the doctor that pulled the intubation tube out? She messed up. She was the one responsible for my dying, inadvertently. You see, she should have taken an X-ray or a CAT scan or an MRI to see what that mass would have done if they pulled it out, and she didn't. And they knew it. And at this point, now they're worried about a major, major malpractice lawsuit that they could not have won because she unequivocally did not do the right thing. And it resulted in death and brain destruction. They removed her immediately. She never came back on the floor, never came back in there ever. She was gone. I mean, my wife said she disappeared so fast, it was like you snapped their fingers. They got that woman out of there. It was a female doctor. And I've talked to her since, and she was an atheist at the time. I have talked to her since I came back and told her, don't worry. There's no hard grudges. Nobody's holding anything. There's no lawsuits. I told the hospital there's no lawsuits. First of all, I told them, how can I sue somebody that introduced me personally to Jesus? And I had a whole new perspective on what love really is, and love doesn't take into account a wrong suffered. So I could not do that. I could not look at it from a human perspective like I would before. Sue that baby, we will be rich. But there wasn't. I talked to her, I says, don't worry. It's fine, it's good. And I explained to her about Jesus. And she's not an atheist anymore. She thought she had killed me. She didn't even know I was alive, anything, until, several weeks, a month, a little over a month later, month and a half, that I actually got to go back and talk to her and tell her. I said, I'm alive. She was like, made a believer out of her real quick, because she's the one that killed me. So, my wife told me, you do everything, and they, at this point, were going to do everything that they were going to experiment. They were going to try and do whatever they could to make sure that they're going to mitigate the circumstances of this lawsuit. That's what was going through their mind. So she went back and told him, and of course, the guy started doing compressions again, beating on my chest again, breaking ribs. He was good at it, too. Funny story, I call him Ali, Muhammad Ali. I was talking in Yuba City, California, and I was talking to a large group of people. I don't know, maybe 500, 1,000, something like that. And I was teasing him. I said, man, it looked like Ali and Frazier, man. Ali was just punching and breaking. And I didn't know this till afterwards. Muhammad Ali's cousin, who is the light heavyweight champion of the world, was in the audience. And he came up to me after he says, he introduced himself, and he goes, I was Muhammad Ali's cousin. I'm going, oh boy, now I'm going to fight again. And he goes, no, it's fine. It's fine. I thought it was funny. It was great. But I'm going like, phew, I might have been a little bit more understanding. Well, of course, I didn't know he was there. So they kept doing more compression, more compression. Well, my heart was going for just maybe 20 or 30 seconds, and then I flatlined again, and I died again the second time. This time I didn't hover. I was just immediately standing back in heaven. I'm out of that chaos. I'm out of everything. Breathing. Nobody beating on me. Well, they were. I just wasn't there. It was wonderful again. And now I'm standing outside of a pasture. I'll call it a pasture, like a field. Same familiar smells, the beauty, just the greens and the colors. The inner courtyard was over here to the left still, a little bit further, and I'm standing there looking at the trees and everything, and I was so nice. I felt like I was back home again, you know. I just like that hug. And I'm looking, and across the pasture come trotting two horses. They were trotting, you know, horses trot, and three little dogs, little short legs, about this big, running just as fast as they could to keep up with them. They were right next to him coming on up, and they're running, coming to me. And I'm watching this, and I'm looking, and as they got closer, I recognized them. See, my wife and I had two horses. One was named Shakush. We called him Shak. The other one was Nugget. We called her Nugget. Shakush was a white Arabian, and he had the personality of a clown. He thought he was a big dog. Shak and my wife would get in the arena or out in the field in the pasture, and they would play, and he'd jump up and rear back. You know how little dogs will jump up and they'll sprint toward you and run away, you know, and come at you and run away. Well, that's what Shak and my wife would do. Except she had to be careful because he's a lot bigger than a dog and could have hurt her, but they never did hurt her, but they would play like that. He was just funny. He didn't care. He wasn't happy. He wasn't mean. He was just a funny clown. Nugget, on the other hand, now Nugget was a buckskin quarter horse, and she was beautiful. And her personality was just the opposite. She was very, I'm so pretty. You may pet me if you'd like. You know, she was very prissy. You know, she knew it, but that was her attitude. Both super horses. We had to have them both put down because of old age, 32 and 35, and horse disease. As they come approach me, I recognized them, but they were in perfect health. No saddle sway, no marks. Their manes were, they were in their prime. They were just beautiful. And I'm going like, wow. And then the three little dogs. Now, I recognized two of those little dogs. I didn't know who the third one was. Never saw her before. But one of those little dogs was Fudge 1, Fudge 2. Fudge 3 we have at the home right now. We name all of our dogs Fudge, so we never get the name wrong. Fudge 1, Fudge 2, there they are right next to the little horses, smiling, just laughing, giggling. Perfect health. I'm going like, wow, this is cool. Third little dog, very quiet, you know, just I don't know who you are either, you know. Get familiar with me, you know. So later on, I found out who that little third dog was. When I came back, I was telling my wife a description. I told her about the horses. She cried. I told her about the dogs. She cried. You know, she cried about everything. Still cries about everything. I was describing this third little dog to her, and she says, "Just a minute." And she went into the back, and she pulled out an old photo album. This is going to tell our age. Yeah. Little square photo like that, about this big, you know, pictures, you know. It wasn't digital stuff like we have. There's my phone. You got to big the pictures out. I mean, they're old. And she says, did that little dog look? I said, yeah, that's the dog. She said, that dog's name is Annie. I had Annie and had to have her put down before I even met you. I didn't even know my wife when she had that dog. But that dog was there. And she, of course, cried, And we talked about it. But now I'm back in heaven looking at these 3 little dogs and the horses. And God does something else that was amazing. Seeing them was incredible. Now, people ask me, well, are pets there? Yes. Well, how do I know? Well, a couple of reasons. 1, I saw them. And 2, I asked Jesus about them. And he says, I gave those to you as a gift. Now, I'm not talking about if you got a snake and a spider or a lizard and you think that's a pet because you're weird, all weird. I mean, I'm talking about the ones that become part of your family. I mean, anybody in here have any pets? Yeah. Boy, we get that many hands to raise up at an invitation. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Right. It's those that become part of your family. And that's a gift to him. And he says, I will never take a gift back that I gave you. Therefore, they are there. And if you've had any pets that have passed, or you had to put to sleep, or they'll be there waiting for you. I actually did a song about that. My wife still won't listen to it because it makes her cry. She cries a lot lately. I'm going to get her, take out tears in her stock and Kleenex. Here's your Kleenex on you, wipe those tears. So I'm sitting there looking at him, and I'm just amazed. But now, that's not enough of a surprise. In heaven, God has made a way that you can have a conversation and talk to your animals. Now, I don't mean like, hi, I'm Mr. Ed, the talking horse. No. But it's a way that you actually communicate, and they will communicate with you, and you can actually hold a conversation with them. And they'll know what you're thinking, and you will know what they're thinking. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I got to talk to those horses and those dogs like I'd never done before in my life. It was just, obviously I have to sort which life I'm talking about. Before I died, I never get to talk to them like that. And now, the little fudge that we have, I know when he's looking at me, I know he's thinking, I can't do it now, but I know when I get in heaven, I'm going to get him, because you could tell that little monster's got stuff going on in his head. And he's happy and healthy right now. So I'm looking at the horses and talking with the horses and everything else. And I'm standing there looking around, and the courtyard's still over, and I see this silhouette. And I'm going like, oh, guys, I want to go meet Jesus. And they understood. They know Jesus. Jesus, it's beyond what you can imagine how wonderful it is in heaven. So I said, I want to go talk to Jesus. Okay, so 1, 2. You know what them cotton picking doctors did, didn't you? And I said, cotton picking. They got my heart started again. Took them 20 minutes. Oh, they got a beat. We got a beat. Yeah, right, thanks. I'm back in my body. Now, they got that heart going. Fortunately, again, it was only for about 20 or 30 seconds. But it was long enough to let me come back and feel all the pain, feel all the ribs they broke. Got to see everything else they're doing. They've been cutting on me. They've been shoving stuff down my throat. It was insanity down here. And thank God. Now, you won't hear many people say this. Thank God, in all sincerity, I died again. And that's right, I said I died again. And I was immediately standing in heaven again. Only this time I'm standing right outside the inner courtyard. Not over here. No. I saw my dad over in the distance. Sorry, I'm not going to see you. Not going to happen. I don't know how long I got here. Them doctors got priors. Every time I get close, right? I said, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm going to see Jesus. I'm going to meet Jesus. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And I just stopped and I went, oh, did that get me? Okay. So I continued on. And I walked up. And I found out my dad was wrong. But he was wrong for him. He wasn't really wrong. He was just wrong because he described what was him, because everybody has a different personal relationship and a personal effect that it has on them. I didn't start with my right knee on the ground. You know me, I was pretty arrogant, right? I didn't start with my left knee on the ground. I fell full, flat, face down onto the ground, prone condition, crying like a little baby. Now, I know there's no tears in heaven, but that's not entirely true. There's no tears of sorrow or pain. Tears of joy and humility are something totally different. And that's what it was. I couldn't believe I was in front of my Lord and Savior. I still can't. I mean, I have to, because I was there and I'm here and I understand, but at that moment it was just overwhelming, humbling, joyous. I mean, I couldn't do anything else. And he stood and he walked over to me and he bent down and he says, give me your hand. And he grabbed my hand. He said, stand, it's going to be okay. And he helped me stand. And he literally wiped my tears. He said, it's going to be okay. We've much to walk and talk about. Now, at that point, you think I'd have had nothing to say. Not true. Because at that point, I hadn't taken up residency in heaven. I was a visitor. I still remembered everything going on back here. And I remembered what it was doing to Carol, her tears. And it was breaking my heart. I remembered when I hovered out over her and she was crying, and I was saying, of course, she didn't hear it. It was coming out of my brain or whatever. It's going to be okay, honey. It's going to be okay, because I wanted to comfort her. Of course, she didn't know that. All she knew was her husband's in there dead. They're beating on him, doing everything they can. You know, you're supposed to be bringing him alive. They're beating him up. I don't know. Yeah. But I was remembering that, and I just wanted to comfort her. And the very first words out of my mouth, can I go back? I need to comfort Carol. Right over his head. Never addressed it, never said a word. He says, come, we're going to talk. You've much to learn. Well, I'm stupid and I'm old, but I'm not real. I learn quick not to try and ask that question again. Later, I found out that he did hear me. But right then, I wasn't going to address it. I'm holding them tears in good, but they're sneaking out my nose. I apologize for that. What you see is what you get. I'm sorry. I'm not a pastor and I'm not a preacher, okay? So I ain't learned how to do everything perfect. You're just getting it the way it's coming. So Jesus and I started walking through heaven. And he was showing me things and teaching me and so on. And, I mean, he showed me where my mansion was going to be. It's not a mansion. Everybody thinks they're going to get a mansion. It's going to be big, huge gold things. No, it's an abode. It's the perfect abode for you. Everybody has a different idea of a mansion. It's a perfect abode. That's where you will live. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Trust me. But it isn't. I mean, you take somebody that doesn't want to live in all that gaudy, crazy thing, 42 rooms, and put them in and say, you will live here. How's that heaven? It's to make it perfect for you. Whole new thing. I'm going to continue on this, but we can get to that. So he showed me everything, and then he told me he was going to start my education. And he was going to teach me everything. And I still, at this point, I did not understand why. Okay? I was obviously going to be here a little bit longer. I thought maybe he just, we always hear, well, when you get to heaven, you'll know everything, right? I thought, well, maybe that's how it comes. He just teaches you. I don't know. And what he did was he took me outside of time and space and backwards in time. Now, understand, in heaven, there is no time. On earth, you could go through 1 billion years up in heaven because it's a perpetual now, and 5 minutes pass here. But if I told you that I was in heaven for 1 billion years, you'd probably be walking out the door right now. And that's not what it was. I was in heaven, which there is no time. But the time that I was gone, a lot was covered. He took me back to before creation, before anything. And he said, Robert, do you see that darkness? I said, yes. I said, there's nothing there. And there wasn't anything. There wasn't no stars, planets, there was nothing. He says, you're right, there's nothing. I created everything, there was nothing. He says, creation is the result of what I spoke. He says, I am love. I am God. I am the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And it's ironic that he talked about this morning. One God, one love, the invisible love, the perfect love with 3 distinct essences, one Godhead, all in one. There's no separation. I was in a perfect, harmonious relationship from within myself, of all parts of myself. We heard, make sure you love yourself. Well, that's not too far from the truth. Because God said, my love was so perfect, I needed nothing, I wanted nothing. I didn't yearn for anything. I had everything in that relationship. I was the beginning, the end, and the middle. Nobody created me. I filled as the invisible God, love, the invisible love, energy, filled everything. And it continually expanded. Now, it's hard for us to comprehend it because you got to try and comprehend it on things. We have a physicality here. But you're going to have to suspend some physicality here and remember that God is God, and he always was. He didn't have a creator. You cannot create a creator. Nobody can create God. They can create things that they think might be, but it's not. He said, as my love expanded, as it grew, I got to a point not self-serving. I didn't need this. I wanted to share this. And that's where it started. I want to share my love, not self-serving. That's God. That's how perfect his love was. So what he said was, I'm going to say 2 words, and you will watch where creation came from. It came from my love. And he says, now watch. And he explained to me what was going to happen because I was going to watch. And he said, love overflow. And when he did that, everything, every atom, everything came into existence and just went, whew, planets, stars, everything, every molecule, every atom went into existence and went outward. And I got to watch it. Why I couldn't understand? Maybe to explain it. And he says, and as you see that, he says, that is the first time that my love, that I became visible. Now, we always say that Jesus was the invisible that became visible. And that's true. But that was the second time he manifested it outwards. The first time was all of creation, which was a result of his love overflowing. He says, now, today, in your earth, in your world, it sounds strange talking like that, I know. He says they have what they're trying to explain, and they call it dark energy. Now, dark energy today, the scientists will tell you, we know it's there. We don't know where it came from. We can't explain it. We can't see it. We can't measure it. We know it's, without it, nothing will be held, everything would fall apart, and it could pass right through anything, but they're trying to put a label on it. He says what they're talking about is the invisible love, me. It is I that hold everything together. And that's the invisible love. The love that I allowed, a part of me, to become visible was all of everything. And when Jesus, I allowed the Son to become visible, that was for a purpose so that man could see. He goes, but this is the first time that it became physical, that you could see it. So everything and everybody actually is and came from God and is made up of his love. As I said earlier, we've corrupted it. We're good. We're nice like that. Because all created beings, angels, us, everything, has what he said is free will, free choice. And what you govern that by, what you make your choices out of, you're supposed to do out of love. But you don't. So when pride involves and self-serving involves or anger, that's not out of love, and that corrupts the love because you're free will and free choice. But he says, without free will and free choice, you can't have love. Because love is to be with truth, and truth is with love, and you can't separate them. That's a relationship just like that you cannot separate. And when you do, it causes harm. It causes things that go wrong. You can love without truth. It's not going to be perfect. You can tell the truth without love. It's going to cause harm sometimes. But you have to do both, truth and love. That's the perfect balance, the harmonious relationship. So he showed that. He explained that to me. We're going to go through this and we'll leave this open for questions and answers. But he showed me, he made me watch Satan, explained to me why he was cast out of heaven, why. In Genesis 2 it says it was formless and void means a chaotic state. He said, I didn't create things in a chaotic state. I create things with perfect and with purpose. There's a cause and effect for everything. So what was the cause of the world going into and everything going into a chaotic state? That was Satan being cast out of heaven. It was so devastating that it sent it into a turmoil. And then, of course, that rippled throughout the entire cosmos. Planets got out of alignment and all kinds of things. You know it's a mess out there right now. But it's all because of that. And he's working on getting us back to that. He continued with my education through every moment, every existence, every event, including dinosaurs, cavemen, Neanderthals, the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. And yes, you were not, and you did not come from a tadpole or a zoa, or you didn't come from some little thing that crawled out of the water, and you didn't come from Neanderthals. The scientists try to explain that. Well, the DNA, we trace it back, and 99% of the DNA, some of that DNA is there, but we wouldn't. Well, it's 80% to 90%, and but some of that human DNA is in there, so it's got to be traced back. So then what they do is they don't know the full DNA strain. They can't. They'll tell you they don't. Well, I've had them in my audiences, and I explained it to them too. And all he said when I got through explaining it to him was, "You're right. You can't deny truth." They don't know what part of the DNA is. But one little tiny genome of DNA that is different changes the entire species, and you cannot be related to. That's why they have different species. That's why they can't interbreed. That's why you don't see a horse breeding with a bird or a dog with a cat. You don't see it. You cannot do that. It's because there's a little tiny difference. He says, now man, and I use that in a generic term, including women. I don't want to be exclusive, okay? Man was the only created being that was created in his image. The only one, and that does make us special. And created in his image means that we are created in his likeness, as far as we now have the ability to have emotions, empathy, love, and a soul. And that's the difference. But we still have free will and free choice. Because without the free will and free choice, you cannot choose love. And therefore, you can't have love. Now, we've corrupted it a lot. Being born into sin because of sinful nature certainly doesn't help. But you do combat that with Jesus. And finally accepting and learning from him. Now, we continued on. Oh, and by the way, Adam and Eve. And this is kind of an interesting, this is kind of a fun point that he pointed. A lot of things he pointed out to me and taught me was eye-opening, but it was fun. Fun to know. He told me he was going to create man. And he told me, I will create man from the dust. And he created Adam. I actually got to watch it out of the dust. So I know DNA doesn't match. You can't extrapolate and put whatever DNA in there you want to make it fit your theory, and that's all the scientists have is theories. But I got to watch it too. And then he said he's going to create Eve from a rib. Now I'm going to ask y'all a question. Texas came out, didn't it? Y'all. Why didn't he just create Eve from the dust? Showed he could do it. Why do you have to take a rib? Anybody want to guess? No? Come on. Okay. As he explained it to me, if he created Eve exactly as he did Adam out of the dust, he'd have two males. Males are different. You can't breed. You can't populate the earth. And he knew he had to do that. And it says flesh, flesh, bone of bone. He said, therefore I took the rib and I changed it just a little bit so I could have female and male in the same species. And therefore, she was a helper because it was not good for man to be alone. He needed a helper. Now that does not mean, guys, oh, that woman's got to be my slave. What that actually means is there to support, to be with, to be involved with. You need her more than she needs you, trust me. You actually need each other equally because that's how he made it. So you didn't come from some slime or a Neanderthal, and if anybody tells you that, tell them, I don't know, it's a good theory, good story. Sorry, I'm going with Jesus. I know I am. I saw it firsthand. You check it out in the Bible. Anything I tell you, check out in Scripture. Don't take my word for it, because everything he tells me is in Scripture and confirmed by his word confirms his word. So we went on through. I'm going to gloss over this one real quick so I can get past it without crying. But I watched the crucifixion. And he explained it to me that it was a perfect picture of his love, a demonstration of his love. And if you think about it, you'll know love is not self-serving. Do you think he went there because he wanted to do it for himself? It doesn't take into account a wrong suffered. Do you think he took into account a wrong suffered? No. When the guards came to take him, Peter drew a sword, cut an ear off, and Jesus says, "No, Peter, we don't do that." He reached down, picked the ear up, put it back on, and asked the Father to heal it. He said, "I'll go willingly." And he did. When he was on the cross, now he went willingly, knowing what they were going to do. He knew they were going to crucify him, whip him, scourge him. They did. It was horrible. They put him on a cross, crucified him. And he still didn't hold it against him. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Was that love? And if you go back and you read the crucifixion, and you see everything that Jesus did up to it, and then apply it to 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, you'll see how that was a demonstration of love. Pure love. Absolute love. Could you love that much? Like to think we could, but could you? We should. But then we're not God. So he went through that, took me through everything else, through every book, every chapter in the Bible, showed me the Dead Sea Scrolls, showed me everything, the Apocrypha, the Ethiopian Bible, everything. Explained it to me through the rapture, to the new heavens, new earth, all of that. And I just glossed over that because that's and I literally have talked 16 hours on that straight. And I know you're not going to be here 16 hours. The pastor will shoot me for sure. I only look, not because I want to leave, but because I've learned that people deal on your time level, and sometimes you need to take a break. So Jesus and I walked through and all the education and everything else he taught me, and we ended up back at the inner courtyard. And we sat on a bench by the river of life, trees, flowers, a setting beyond surreal. It was magnificent. I'm sitting on a bench with Jesus. And he started the conversation. Remember the question I asked him when I first went there? Can I go back? The first thing he addressed, the very first thing he says, "Robert, I heard you when you first came before me, and you asked if you could go back because you wanted to comfort Carol." He said, "I heard you. I could not and would not send you back like that." He says, "Your brain has been destroyed. It doesn't have the function to do anything. You can't tell your body to do anything. It's non-existent. It's dead. Your body has been destroyed and ravished. When you're without oxygen," now this is me talking, not him. "When you're without oxygen, your body eats itself too. It eats every cell in your body eats itself. It eats your heart, your liver, your organs, everything. It eats your muscles." I learned, I didn't even know I had a thing they called skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles are what holds your muscles to the bone. It ate those up. When I came back, this was the bone, and everything else was just dangling down at the bottom. Nothing was even connected. He said, your body's been ravished. It's non-functional. If I were to send you back in that manner, and even then he's gentle and kind. He didn't say you'll be a vegetable. He says, you would be self-contained within that body. You wouldn't be able to comfort or do anything for anybody. And eventually that body would continue, and they wouldn't even be able to keep it sustained alive on machines. You know, sometimes they'll keep a body alive for organ donors. You're dead, you're gone, you're not in there, but they'll keep that alive so they can harvest the organs, which is fine, that's great, helps people. He said, but you couldn't do anything. He says, and therefore, I would not send you back. Okay, he answered my question. I guess I know where I'm going to be. It's not a bad thing. I'm going to be in heaven. Except he very quickly said, however. And let me tell you something. If Jesus ever says however to you, or if, you better pay attention. Because there's something serious coming at the end. Do not gloss over it. He said, however, I could and I would send you back with some caveats. Things that will happen, things that need to be done. Conditions. He said, first, I will send you back with a new brain, a new heart, a new liver, new kidney. Everything will be brand new, as if nothing had ever happened to you. As if you've never been sick, you never died, as if nothing ever happened except the physical body needs to heal. He says, I'll send you back with that miracle that no one can deny. Not the doctors, not the scientists, not even yourself. And they will know, and you will know, that I am God, that I am in control, that I can do miracles today as I do every day, continuously, in the past, in the present, in the future. He said, and then I will command you to share everything about the miracle, about how you died, what I did to bring you back. Not to glorify it or to be looking at gaudy, ugly things, but so they will know that you were dead. And they will know that I am alive. He says, you will also share everything that I taught you, everything you experienced in heaven and everything you learned. And I'll give you a complete memory of your entire life. And I will give you a complete memory of everything that I taught you. And you will share it with anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place that I put in front of you. And you will also answer any questions that they have, anytime, anywhere, any place that I put in front of you. And you will do so in truth and spirit until you come home. And he said, and one more caveat. The moment, he says, if, there's that if. I don't even like saying it. If you choose to go back. If I choose, he's going to give me a choice? Whoa, that's weird. If you choose to go back, the moment you enter your body, you will feel every ounce of discomfort, every ounce of pain, everything from the time you entered that hospital until the time you leave. And I will make sure you feel every bit of it as if you had no anesthesia. The doctors won't know. They think you're dead, and they have you on drugs. They won't know you're feeling anything. but you will. And then another if. If you survive that. If I survive that? He says, if you survive that, then I will allow the doctors to continue to heal and mend your body with the new organs and new brain that I gave you to complete health. As if nothing ever happened to you. Now, you choose. You can stay here and you'll be perfectly fine. You won't remember this conversation. You won't even have any existence of it. You'll never remember, and you'll be perfectly in heaven just like everybody else. Or you can choose to go back with the caveats I stated. You choose. I'll search your mind, your heart, your very essence. And if you have the right, correct mindset, motives, then you will go back. You choose. I chose, and I must have had the right motives because I'm here. And he sent me back, and when I entered my body, he did not lie. I went through the surgeries where they had to put a thongs or whatever they call them down through the tracheotomy hole to scrape the inside of my lungs. Oh, yeah, I forgot this too. I also, after they were cutting me and everything else, I bled out into my lungs. So they ultimately had to drill a hole in my side to drain a liter bottle full of fluids and blood out. And then they had to go into my lungs and scrape the inside of my lungs to get all the blood and coagulation off of that. They shot, and they did that through surgery, the trach that they put in crooked, and the hole was too big. They had to go back into surgery, recut it, bigger trach, put all that in there. And I ended up with a hole right here, about like that. I could have put this microphone in it. I said, I got to put a golf ball in it. But they put a trach in it. And they had to put that in, had to sew it into place and all kinds of stuff because it was all messed up. 1 second. I'm doing pretty good, actually. So he sent me back, and he sent me back. And I laid there from the 19th. Well, I was dead. I was gone from 19th to the 23rd of May. But on the 23rd of May is when he sent me back. And when he sent me back, I laid there, and I'm going like, oh, this is crazy. I went through all this. Shorten it. They just about had my wife convinced to end everything and send me on down on the way. My wife was there getting ready to say goodbye. She had her fingers in my hand. That's how we hold hands. She had two fingers in there, and I just squeeze them for her and hold them. She had her fingers in there. Of course, my hands, I couldn't even close. When you die, you puff up like a jellyfish. I mean, I look like the Pillsbury Doughboy on steroids. You know, I just. And the doctors, I went back and talked to him, and he said, okay. And he's talking to him about convincing her, and I know what's going on. Wait a minute. We were talking about cremation. She's about to tell him, okay, send me down and fry me? No, But I couldn't do anything because they had me on paralyzing drugs and everything else, which is protocol. I couldn't move if I wanted to. And it was all I could do to squeeze her finger. And I squeezed her finger to let her know, hey, I'm in here. And she squeezed my finger back. And I squeezed her finger again. She squeezed mine back. And I said, that's enough. I didn't have any more in me. And she told the doctor, says, he just squeezed my fingers. And the doctor's going like, oh, no. I just had this lady convinced. And he's like, okay, no, that may have been a retraction or something because of death. He said, there's no way. His brain, you've seen, the MRI showed there's no activity. When they declare you brain dead, they do an MRI now. They shoot ice water in your ear. They scratch your eyeball with a little Brillo pad type thing. They do everything. They stick you with needles. See if there's any tactile stimulation and anything. Because they've had people that, they thought were dead that weren't, and they get in the coffin and they end up scratching the coffin. So they're going to make pretty sure. Well, the doctor that was about to, had just talked to her, was the one who actually pronounced me dead. He's like the leading pulmonologist in the country. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing. And he says, no, that was just a thing. He said, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower all the drugs. And I'll come back in a couple hours and I'll show you that there's no reaction, nobody's in there. And my wife still persisted. Now, she wouldn't quit. Boy, she's tough. She said, he squeezed my fingers. No, okay. So they told him to lower all the drugs and he'll be back in a couple hours. So my wife waited. And he came back a couple hours later. I was looking for a stool. I don't have a stool. I'll have to do a squat. Okay, so he comes back and he says, okay. He said, I'm going to show you. Now, this is actually kind of funny. This is the leading pulmonologist in the country. I mean, this is a smart man who's about to do the dumbest thing I ever heard. He gets in that remember that little stool, steel stool I told you I'd tell you about that? The wheels on them? He pushes it up right next to me, sits on the stool, and he gets right next to my ear. And he screams. This is the only doctor's name that we use but they don't like anything. But it had to be used. We told him we're going to use it because we changed it, Don. We gave him a new name. My wife did. He goes, screaming, my name is Dr. Gouda. Like the cheese. From then on, my wife called him Dr. Cheese. To this day, she saw him a couple of weeks ago or a month ago into his office and refers to him as Dr. Cheese. First of all, he's talking to a dead man that he pronounced dead, and he continues, my name's Dr. Gouda, like the cheese. If you can hear me, raise your arms. Smart man, talking to a dead man. He's the one who pronounced him dead, screaming at the top of his lungs. Well, if he could hear you, he might not. Now you just broke his eardrums. And telling me to give him a command? I'm supposed to answer a command verbally? When they done stuck me with needles and ice water and everything else, and I didn't respond to that, but I was supposed to answer your question? Both arms straight up in the air. Those wheels came in handy, boy. He scooted that chair back and looked at me and said, what the? I'm not going to say the words he said. What in the? No. He inches back up. He hadn't had enough punishment. Scoots back up. And now he doesn't know what's going on. Wiggle your feet. I wiggled my feet. He scoots back. He goes, this is impossible. There's no way. No way. He scoots back up next to me. He goes, look at me. Now, you got to understand something. When you're dead, your eyes don't close. Now, they're trying to think they got to keep care of me. So they got this jelly stuff, like Vaseline. They got caked on my eyes so they don't dry out, I guess. I look like a dead fish that's been there for 3 days, staring straight ahead, right? He says, look at me. He backs up, blink faster. He backs up and he goes, I don't know what's going on here. Raise every drug that we got, raise it all the way up. We got to figure out what's going on. I don't know what he thought he had a zombie or what. I don't know what he thought. He didn't know what he had. He did not understand what was going on. This is not possible. There's no way. This man's been dead for 3 days. There is not a chance that this man is doing this. He told my wife, I said, we got to do some MRIs. We got to do some more scans. My wife said, okay, I'll wait. He says, no, it's going to take a lot longer than that. He said, come back tomorrow. We'll have the results of the MRIs. We got to know what we're dealing with here. So later that day and that night, they took MRIs of my brain again, of my heart and my liver and everything else. And next morning, my wife came in and a little things. The nurse asked the nurse, did they come back? And she said, yes. He said, what'd they say? She said, I can't tell you that. HIPAA, they couldn't. She said, the doctor has to tell you. My poor wife. And she says, well, okay, if it were your husband, would you be optimistic or you be not optimistic? And the nurse looked at her and said, I'd be very optimistic. So now my wife went up again. She was like on a roller coaster. Happy cry, happy cry, happy cry. She didn't know what to do. Waited. A couple hours later, the doctor comes in. He goes up to her and shakes his head and goes, he wasn't crying. I'm trying to get it out. I'm sorry. He said, there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't even have to say it's a perfect brain. Look at this MRI. There's nothing. This ain't even the same brain. His heart, his liver, everything is brand new. There's nothing wrong with him. I don't understand it. Of course, my wife is happy about this. We went through a lot of other ordeals before they would even take me off the drugs because they still didn't understand what's going on. They don't know if just the brain grew back. I still have brain damage. They don't know what's going on. There was a lot of stuff they were still trying to document and go crazy with. Make a long story short, I don't have any brain damage. I don't have anything wrong. My wife will still argue, well, I don't know about that. You might have a few things wrong. That was her. It's like the man flu, only women do it. But the fact that I'm standing here alone is a miracle. The tracheotomy, remember that? I have a big hole here. Yeah, you can look. I have no scar. The day before I left, another silver stool episode, physician's assistant comes in, and he goes, and the night before, they were going to take it out, and they took it out and showed my wife, the big old hole and everything, and explained you got to keep it covered because if anything goes in there, it goes straight into his body and so on and so on. Can't take showers, if the water gets in there. None of that's going to be good. So, as a result, he said you got to keep it clean, put gauze over it, make sure you don't tear the skin because it's going to take, several months for that even to heal to the point where we can sew in a voice box that he can go, rah, rah, rah. You've seen people like that, right? That was the only way I was going to be able to talk. I can talk. But they told her, make sure you don't tear the skin. It'll just deter how long it takes for the healing. And she says, okay, so she's going to be good. They came the next morning. They took it out. They came the next morning. And the PA is going to go, okay, let's take this off. Let me show you one more time how to clean it, keep it clean and everything else. And she says, okay. So he goes through it, and the PA sits on the stool. I like those stools, Unwraps. They had a big old bandage around my neck, and they took that off, and then he's going to peel the gauze tape off real slow and then peel it up to expose the hole in my neck. And he gets all that ready and he picks the final gauze off. And here comes the stool again. And literally just like he backs that stool up and he points and he goes, his finger's shaking. When did they take that out? And I said, last night about 8:30. You can't talk? I said, you asked me a question. No, you can't talk. I said, well, obviously I can. And it was about 8:30 last night. Overnight, that all had healed, shut. Not a scar. And I obviously can talk. That's for Jesus. One last thing, and I promise I'll let you, I probably won't let you go, but I'll say I will. You remember the mass on my neck, the cancer? It wasn't cancer. It was a strep infection. But it rolled over and suffocated and killed me anyway. But how did the cancer show up in the blood? Well, they found that out too. You see, they found out that what had happened was they diagnosed that as cancer, but I had liver cancer. And they said that if I had not died and come in, I'd have been dead within 4 months anyway. So the best thing that ever happened to me, talk about a cure for cancer, die, go to heaven, come back, have him give you everything new because he gave me a new liver, new kidney. I had nothing wrong. So those are just a compilation of miracle after miracle after miracle that he said nobody can deny. Is God alive? Yes. Is Jesus' love real? Yes. Can he do miracles? Absolutely. And I'm here to tell you, those are facts. Make sure you trust him and love him because there's nothing that he cannot do. God bless you. If any of you have questions and you want to hang around, I'll be happy to answer your questions to whenever you don't have to ask questions. Otherwise, thank you for listening to Jesus' testimony. Of course you can. 1 second. I got to get this fog out of my eye.
Occurs to me in all that in all that you reported, there's nothing you reported to benefit you. Like God did not tell you that you could be governor of California or something. That's pretty impressive for me.
No, I don't want to be governor. I don't want to be anything. I'm not a pastor. I'm not anything. I'm not divinely inspired. I'm none of those things. All I am is a vessel, and everything and all glory goes to Jehovah Jireh, God, Jesus, not me. Yes. June last year. Well, I could talk before that. That's really kind of funny because my wife would not even let me sing in the shower. She'll tell you that too. She says, no. When I told her, she says, honey, he's telling me, he's giving me these songs. You want me to sing? She says, honey, no. Please don't. I said, I'm going to do it. Okay, we'll do it in the other room. and then she heard it coming out and she said, what was that? No. So, yeah, it was June, into June, July. Since then, he gives me the songs, gives me the words, the music. I hear it in my head, the melody. I write the words down. I write the music down. Somehow I do the piano and everything else, get it all together. And I produce them now. I have a studio in my office there in Fort Worth, Brock, Texas, actually. It's all combined one. But in Brock, Texas, and I record everything there. Since June, he has probably given me 1,400 or 1,500 songs. I've released, I think, 10 or 11 albums. 6 have gone gold. Two 2 have gone double platinum. I just released some more, and I've got a lot more to release. He's having me do a song for every chapter in the Bible. I have all of them written for the New Testament. I've got Matthew, John, Revelation, Ephesians, a couple other ones done, but I still have to, record those. I'm working on it, but he's got me doing a lot of other things, like writing a lot of books and everything else that he wants out there. And yes. Why he went through that? Because, well, he's God. He can create whatever he wants. Why would he create anything? When he created it, that's what he created. He created the dinosaurs. He created everything that there is. He's created.
Why not go straight through to us, humans?
Why not go straight to you? I can only speculate.
Yeah.
I honestly, that's probably the first question I couldn't answer direct because we didn't discuss it. One, it wasn't important. It was his plan, not mine. All right? But 2, if I had to look at it from a logical expectation, he knows the beginning and he knows the end. So he would know where we're going to be every step of the way in evolutionary, as far as engineering life, progress for cars of combustions and so on and so on. And having known that, he would also have known that we would have had a need for oil and so on, so he created that in his wisdom. This is speculation. This is not from him. I want to understand that, okay? But he would know that would create oil deposits and so on, because he also would know that there was going to be a meteor or an asteroid hit the Earth 65, 66 million years ago in the Yucatan Peninsula that would send everything into an earth cloud and everything else. But all of that has to do with how and why man came about at a certain point. But he prepared everything for man. So that is a preparation for that. That would be my speculation in understanding that. Yes?
Do you know if there's such a place as hell? I mean, besides here on earth?
Yes.
Yes, you know, or yes, there is?
Yes to both. Yes, there is a hell. And no, hell is not here on earth, although we may think it sometimes. There is a hell. There's actually 2 places you could refer to hell. One would be hell in the Old Testament is referred to hell in Sheol or Sheol. There's a place called Sheol or Sheol. And in that is hell and paradise, a good place and a bad place if you would have. And if at that time you were showing true belief in the one true God, and you did that through making sacrifices and blood sacrifices on the altar to God, not to a golden idol or not to a calf or a monkey, giraffe, or whatever the case may be, or yourself, then you would be credited with righteousness. And when you're credited with righteousness, then that's what you had, and that would you would go to paradise. If you did not, and you believed in golden idols and so on, you would go to hell and Sheol. Now, the reason for that is they could not accept Jesus' payment. He had not died yet. That was in the future. All of that leads to the cross. So they didn't have the ability to accept him. But they will have an opportunity. But the actual hell that everybody will end up in, yes, there is an actual hell. And it is probably not what a lot of people think. It's actually, I think it's worse. He did explain it to me. Number 1, Jesus will never send anybody to hell. He will never send you to hell for any sin you do. Absolutely not. He's forgiven you for all your sins. So how do you get to hell? Well, there's a thing that's called free will and free choice. He said, I will never send you. If I sent you, he would be taking into account a wrong suffered. This is how perfect his love is. He says, therefore, if I did that, I would be violating my own love. But what I am doing is I am giving you exactly what you asked for. When you have a choice, when you are confronted with what Jesus did, if you reject it, you are choosing death. You are choosing life. Death, at that point, spiritual death, is separation from God. You choose, no, I do not want you. I choose to be separated from you, and you're choosing that death. You rejected him. That is your choosing to go to hell yourself, to be separated from God for all of eternity. When you choose him, you are accepting life. And you do that through faith, not of your own, and by grace, not of your own. And then you are pulled into everlasting life. You reject it, he's only given you what you want.
Generally have rejected Christ, so that's fitting.
Well, you know, everybody has their own problems and choices. But the one thing you do is you have to understand this. You can choose your opinion, and you can choose how you want to believe it. But what you cannot do is choose your own set of facts. And the facts are that. And if you choose otherwise, based on facts that you've instituted, employed in there, then that's on you, because you had not done it. Now, there's a very fine line there that you have to watch, because it's called the moment of accountability. A lot of people call it the age of accountability. And the age of accountability, there's some religions say it's 7, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. Prior to that, you're considered, you have free grace that you'll go to heaven. But it's not that. As he said, it's the moment of accountability. And the moment of accountability is this. That's the moment that you are confronted with and given what Jesus did, why he did it, and accepting that payment or not accepting it. When you, at that moment that you have the intellectual ability and you are given that information, you have the intellectual ability or IQ to understand it, to make a logical choice, that's the moment of accountability. And it's when you reach that moment, whether it's 5, 6, 10, 50, 80, 90 years, maybe it might be 2 minutes before you die. We don't know. He does. But when you're confronted with that and you choose, that's where it determines where you go. So you either choose with him or not. That's where the free will comes in. But he gives you the faith, not of your own, lest anybody get there by works. You can't do any works. You can't. And then by grace, not of your own, he'll pull you in if you choose to accept his payment. In John chapter 6, verse 28 and 29, it says it pretty clear. Verse 28, the disciples were asking Jesus, what are the works of God that we must do? What are the works, plural, S, W-O-R-K-S, of God? And Jesus in verse 29 immediately answered, and he said, the work, singular, W-O-R-K, of God is that you believe in the one he sent. That's it. Believe in the one he sent. Now, is to believe in Jesus. Now, you notice two things in that. One, he said work. There's only one work, and that's it. So there's only one way, and that's through Jesus. That's it. Believing in his work. That is it. Not multiple. They asked for works, plural. He specified it's not plural. It's work. And also, you notice in that verse, it doesn't say man's work. He said it's God's work. God's work, because you can't do any work. You could do nothing on your own. Nothing to get to heaven. No good work. Not, pastor might not like this, not going to church, not reading your Bible, not studying, not being a good person even, is not going to determine whether you get to heaven. You don't get to heaven because your parents were good, or your mom or your wife is good. You don't get there by somebody else's. There's only one way, and that's by you have to have a personal relationship in believing and accepting his payment, and that's it. People might not like that. I don't really care. That's a fact, and that's the truth.
What about meat? Some of these animals that is double as dinner and pets.
Well, as I said, it's whether he gives them to you as a gift or not. And he'll know, and you will know whether or not they are. All right. And we eat animals here. We do not eat animals in heaven. We do eat food that's similar to that. What do you mean? Well, do you like, how many here like steak? I'll raise my hand. Pizza. I know you like pizza. I saw that pizza disappear. Yeah, even you, look at you going, you know you like pizza. And those little turkey rolls, all those things, right? Can you have those in heaven? They're made up with animals. Answer is yes. What do you mean? Well, you see, we eat here to supply and nourish our bodies. And we do it through some weird food sometimes, but we do. Animals, plants, all kinds of things. In heaven, you will eat. You will sup. You'll have a banquet. You'll have things to do. Jesus himself said we're going to have a banquet. What's he going to do? Serve you cardboard? Think about it. He has a purpose and a reason for everything he says and does. No, we are going to eat. But the difference is this. When you eat in heaven, it's not for nourishment of your body. You have a resurrected body that doesn't need the nourishment. What you eat for is fellowship, companionship, that you eat. You invite people. You can have Jesus over to your house. So what do you eat? Well, has anybody ever heard of manna? See, in heaven, Jesus provides manna in the shape, texture, and taste of every food that you had here as you enjoyed. The difference is it's not dead animals. It's of manna, pure energy. And when you eat it, it dissipates outward. You don't... Are there any kids in here? You don't have any waste. Here you have waste. And we all know what happens to the waste in your body when you have to expel it. Well, there is no waste in heaven, so you won't have to have that function. That's kind of nice, actually. So no, but you can eat it. And where do you get it? Well, in heaven, everybody, remember, love is serving others, helping others, doing things for others. We are supposed to love one another as he loved us. And everything he did for us was out of love. And likewise, we do it for that. Now, there are people that their makeup is they enjoy serving. They like cooking. They like running restaurants. They love running supermarkets. Now, the difference is this. In heaven, there will be a market where you can go pick up the food, but it will all be manna. It'll look like, taste like, everything else you can prepare just like, except it's manna, not dead animals. And you go get it and you bring it home and you prepare it because that's fellowship time. That's a time that you enjoy it. Jesus enjoys it. This is an excuse, but did Jesus not make wine? Yes, he did. So is there something wrong with the wine? No. It's whether or not you're going to get drunk on it, abuse of it. But you'll have that in heaven. But there won't be any alcohol. You won't be getting drunk. It's fellowship. It's time. That's what you do. There's a lot more. You're not just going to sing Kumbaya all day in heaven. You're going to do a lot of things that you can't even imagine here. And it's incredible. Things that you don't even have here, you've never seen here. Anybody here like to travel? Go overseas, meet other cultures? Well, what happens here? Let's talk about language for a minute, okay? Has anybody here gone to another country? Who? Where did you go? Oh, do you speak Italian? No. Oh no, non cadere, no. No. French? Parlez français? No. They don't speak it, but they went. So did you have trouble communicating? You had to use an app? Yeah, right? It's a problem. Or any other country. Yes, ma'am. China? Where in China? Poland? All over? Do you speak Chinese? No. Well, it's a good thing because, they got so many dialects, it's insane. I spoke for 3 hours in Chinese. It's nuts. However, in heaven, would it be heaven if a Chinese person or an Italian or a French person went to heaven and he said, all right, everybody's going to speak English? All right, listen, everybody speak Italian. Everybody, no, that's excluding. The Bible said God shows no favoritism. And it also says that favoritism is a sin. Therefore, God cannot do it. Do you think he's going to sin in making you a new heavens and a new earth? And yes, it is a new heavens and a new earth. A little close, but not quite. Here's what happens. When a person from another country goes to heaven, remember, it's their heaven too. They're going to retain their culture, whether it be Chinese, Korean, Italian, Poland, Russian, German, whatever. There's going to be people from all walks of life that are going to go there. When they get there, they're going to be in their abode, in their heaven. It's the same thing. The difference is this. There's no borders. There's no animosity, no separation. They just keep in their cultures. They're all one. They're all interconnected by God's love because it permeates the air that you breathe and the light that imbues you. You all are connected by that love. Now, as a result, when you go to another country, and you will be able to go, you can go and visit wherever you want to go. And you will, because you will want to meet everybody. And you got all of eternity, not even eternity, all forever, everlasting. Eternity denotes a time, and I want to be real cautious on that. Time doesn't exist. Borders don't exist. You want to go to Italy? You go to Italy. And when you get to Italy, you can immerse yourself in their culture and enjoy it and enjoy them, and you can have a complete conversation. And this is how it goes. Let's assume the moment that you're Italian. And I'm coming to visit you in Italy. And I come up and I speak to you. I will speak to you exactly as I'm speaking right now in English. Every accent, every nuance, every little, Dad? Every little thing. You will hear it in Italian with every nuance, every little thing, with nothing lost in translation. Nothing. And then when you speak back to me, you speak back to me. Bonjour, what? No, I will hear exactly what you said in my native language. So there is no barrier. There's nothing lost in translation. You don't need an interpreter, and you don't need an iPhone to try and translate it, okay? God has made that possible. Remember, you only use, right now, they say Einstein used maybe 4.5, maybe 4.6% of his brain. The average human will use 3.5%, 4%, maybe 5% of their brain. What's the other 95% for? Oh, there's a reason. He makes everything for purpose and with reason, and you will find out when you get to heaven. Because you have functions and abilities you do not even comprehend. No, you're not going to fly. You're not going to walk around. You're not omnipresent. You're not God. You're not going to walk through walls. You don't grow wings. You are you in perfect form, in perfect love, and it is perfect harmony. And it's the relationship that you've always longed and hoped for, and you will have it when you get to heaven.
Since everyone has a different idea as to what Jesus is. Everyone?
Somewhat. I knew that question would come up. What does Jesus look like? Okay. There are certain physical characteristics of Jesus that he has made available. Remember, Jesus became visible to us. No, I got your question. I'll get to that. I'm very observant. I watch every little thing going on in here. There are certain physical characteristics that Jesus has adopted, as you would call it, when the invisible became visible, so that we can see and can have an interpersonal relationship with him in the physical world, or that we will see him, because he knew that was important. And as he said, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father. But we've seen Jesus. Now, we all have ideas of what he looks like. So I'm going to preface this with color blindness. Color blindness is if I look at you and I see you have a blue coat on, or a jacket, and you look at it and you see it as blue too. But in reality, if one of us were colorblind, or we might all be colorblind, just seeing things differently, but if we were colorblind, I was colorblind, I look at it, I know it as blue, but when I see it, it actually would be red to her, but she knows it as blue. That's how colorblindness works. You don't see it the exact same way. That's number one to keep in mind. Number two, we all in here are more than 5 years old, so I don't think anybody's hiding behind a bench back there. We've encountered female and male people, young men, women in our lives, and when you first see them, you go, wow, she's beautiful, or wow, he's so handsome. And then you get to know him. And you go, what happened to her? What in the world? What's wrong with that guy? Man, what was I thinking? And the opposite, we've seen some that go, well, she's nothing special. Maybe homely. And the guy, nah. Arf? No, he's a dog. But then you get to know them. And you go like, when did you get so good looking? Wow, when did you become this handsome? Because you got to know the inner self. So when you look at Jesus and you see him, all right, two things. One, you're going to see him in his absolute beautiful, purest form, his love. You will see the inner beauty of that love. Because two ways. One, you're going to be in his presence. Two, it will be literally embodying you because of the air, the light, and everything else. And three, you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt it's because of him that you are there. You will know he is God. So those are going to come into play. Now, the other thing that's going to come into play is this. His actual attributes, physical attributes. We all have different ideas. Just like I had a different idea that was blue and she thought it was red. We're going to visualize it differently. But he's going to be the perfect that you've ever seen. Now, the physical characteristics. He's about 5'8", 5'9". He's not fat. He's not skinny. He's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's very svelte. I don't know what the word is. Hello? What? Oh, I thought, okay. Came from above. I'm saying, yeah, I know it's okay. So his skin is like an olive color, like a really good tan. He's not black. He's not white. He's not purple. And he's just very, very olive colored, tannish type. His hair's it's not straight. It's not kinky. He wears it kind of short. It's dark. He wears it. It's probably about this long. Kind of goes over the back and goes not a shag, but goes to about neck length. Very well kept. It's not long. His beard is the same thing. It's dark. It kind of goes short. It's not hanging down to here. His nose is. I don't know whether. I can't give you a nationality of it, but it's not crooked. It's not bulbous. It's just like it's perfect. His eyebrows are full. They're not bushy like caterpillars, but they're there. And his beard and hair and eyebrows are all identical. His eyes. You can't see what color they are because they shine. When he looks at you, they almost like change colors. They're just like flowing, living love that comes out of him. It is, when he looks at you, it is literally love, compassion, and everything he's talked to you comes out at that time, and they change accordingly. And when he talks at you, he talks to you, he doesn't look away. Like when we talk, I'll be talking to you and I'll glance over you. We all do that. That's just what we do. We're looking at everything going around. When Jesus talks at you, he looks straight at you. He doesn't deviate. And he's not staring you down. It's not like, whoa, don't look at me like that. It's not a staring contest. It's just, there's absolute pure, undivided attention that you are the most important person in the entire existence. And you have his full, undivided attention. And he speaks, not just with words, but he speaks with love and compassion that comes out of his eyes. And you just can't, you just melt. He's pure love. He's pure love. We cannot put him into a category of what a human looks like. I'm a man, but he's beautiful. He's absolutely beautiful and perfect in every way. Like that woman that you fell in love with, the inner beauty is just beyond what you ever hoped for. And you grew into that. Didn't just happen. Well, it is that and more.
What
Yes.
about multiple lives?
Hold on. I died in 2024. I was 74. Yes, ma'am. I was 74 years, 362 days old. And when I came back on May 23rd. Right now? All right, let me say 75. I was 3 days shy of being 75 when I died. I was 75 years old, I died. And I am now 77. Or 2. The 23rd of May, I turned 2 years old. 24th of May, I turned 77 years old. Yes, ma'am. I weighed 290 pounds until about 5 months ago. And Jesus said, you will lose this weight because I will not. You see earlier podcast of me, I was like, and he said, no, you will change. I said, okay. So I got the best diet in the world, Jesus. So now I weigh about 195. I lost about 100 pounds. And the bad thing about that is I had to buy new clothes. I didn't know he was through with me yet. I went down to about 210, 215. I thought, oh, okay, I'm good. I went out and bought new suits. I had to get rid of those. I had to buy some since then, too. So, yeah. I went from a size 52-inch pants to a 38. About what?
Multiple lives.
Yeah,
People
you
say that,
you have a life here and then you have a life in heaven or hell. That's it.
So is that the devil?
No, I'm sorry. Past regressions, no. Sorry. That's not what it works like. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm 77. Am I supposed to not be? I know. No, ma'am. This was just 2 years ago. He's done this all in 2 years. If what? Let me address that. And all right, I'm going to address the memory and the brain issue right now. When he sent me back, he said he would give me a new brain. He didn't say he would repair my brain. He said, I'll give you a new brain. I will give you a new heart and everything. He says, I will give you a complete memory of your entire life with instant recall. I will give you a complete memory of everything I taught you, everything you experienced, of everything with complete recall. And he has done that. I can remember now when I was 6 months old, 1 year old. I can tell you what my neighbors were upstairs in the apartments we lived at in North Olmsted, what he did for a living, what his wife's perfume smelled like, everything. I can tell you everything. And I did not have that before. I don't forget anything. Now, there's a little bit crazier. He said I would share this until I went home, so I'm going to assume I'm going to have it until then. Okay? You notice I don't have notepads up here. What do you want? Well, hold on. I'm going to hug somebody. You are? I know who you are. Martin's son, yes.
Marty's son.
Yes. Pleased to meet you. I'm Robert. Pleased to meet you. And you are?
Lisa, I'm his
Lisa?
wife.
Pleased to meet you, Lisa.
We'll have you sign their book, and they gave you one of these, and
Oh.
they signed it for you.
Oh, thank you so much. This here, by the way, the richest man in town. Okay, I'm going to give him a plug. I've learned to talk slower, Randy. Give other people a chance to talk. Randy is the one who wrote this book? No, you making a movie into a feature film, yes. But it's about the richest man in town, and it's really kind of neat because it's not monetary. It's the richest man in town with all of his friends and everything else that was involved, and how he had so much love and joy and everything within him.
This is one of his sons.
This is his son.
Yep.
Get the book and read it. It is amazing.
Brings out the humanity.
Yeah.
Buy his books too.
This isn't about me. No, it really is. It will make you understand what we're not to judge everybody by just exactly how they look and how they act. It will bring you into reality. Remember, Jesus accepted you just as you were. He didn't say go out there and get cleaned up, fix yourself, get a new shirt. He took you the way you were. This is really a good indication of that. Am I wrong? Okay. I'm going to keep
They're
it.
leaving. I'm going to see them later, and I'll sign some books for them
Okay.
when you get a chance.
Okay.
Also, I can't get your thing to work.
Well, bring it here. I'll show you how it works.
I'll have Terry do it.
We'll bring it here. Okay. Yes. Oh, I didn't finish answering your question. I don't get lost either. Thank you. Thank you, Randy. It's nice meeting you guys. Sorry I talk a lot. Okay. So, a complete memory until I go back. Not just temporary. Now, that memory works pretty well. I'm going to say something now that may shock you, but it's a reality, okay? When I died, you better sit back down. When I died, I had accepted the Lord in 84, but I told you I wasn't a good following person. I did not own a Bible. I had never read the Bible. I still have not read the Bible. I'm singing it, I'm quoting it, I understand that. But you have to understand that I didn't read it, but the one who inspired and wrote it taught me. He put the entire Bible in my head to the point where I can look at it in an eternal now and see all of it together as you're supposed to read it in its entirety. And I can see this scripture and this scripture and this scripture and this scripture that all correlate directly to that and tell you exactly how to explain it. Perfect example. Well, I'm going to take one that's really, really kind of, most people may not have heard it, or they may have heard it and maybe didn't understand. There's a scripture that says, a woman covers a man. All right? And it's in Ezekiel, okay? And the scholars interpret that. They've been trying to interpret that and understand it. But they couldn't, because you have to look at, first of all, the whole entire book is symbolic. But it's symbolic with a prophecy in the middle of it. But the prophecy is symbolic. So when man tries to read this, which they've not been able to understand it, I know that for a fact because I just got through explaining it to a pastor here a couple of days ago. They call occasionally when they have a question they haven't been able to get answered, they'll call. But as I explained to him, I said, you have to look at first, what is woman symbolic of there? And what is man symbolic of? So you take those two words, and they're symbolic. Woman is the nation of Israel, and man is symbolic of God, the comforter, the protector. He said, well, we understand that, but it's that problem in the middle there, because it says that you will cover. And when we take that back to the Hebrew phrase, because that's the only time that phrase is ever used in Hebrew. That's the only time ever. He says, so we take back and we look back to the Hebrew, and we look up, cover, it shows surround, to encompass, to take over. And I said, you're correct, That's the exact Hebrew's transliteration of that word. But what you've got to understand is you have to look at it as a symbolic Hebrew phrase. And that's not what it means. What it means, you have to put in there, if you go 4 verses down, you will see where I'm talking about, and it goes down. As you see, it talks about returning to regeneration. The nation is going to come back. He says, yeah. I says, you see, that's why you got to look at all the scriptures, because that whole chapter is symbolic. And then you go over from that verse over to Revelations, and it's symbolic again there, which shows you that it's a symbolic meaning for them going to come back in full repentance. So then I said the actual phrase should be read or interpreted as the nation of Israel will return and re-establish a covenant lost with God, the protector and comforter. But you got to go to Revelations. You got to understand the Hebrew, the translation of Hebrew in the symbolic translation. And I did cheat. You got to go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls a little bit, which he didn't have access to, but I did. And I was able to explain it to him. But that's how you get to see it. But that's how my brain works. Okay? It's a little scary sometimes. Back to your question. Okay. So I do have complete memory. Do have complete recall, even though I haven't read it, don't need to. I read it inadvertently by singing songs and writing songs and answering questions. That's the difference. See, that's why I don't need notes up here. That's why I don't need what do you call those things? A PowerPoint presentation. That's why I don't need a Bible right there. I'm not shouting or giving you knowledge. It's not knowledge. It's the understanding and the practicing and employing that in your body, in your life. And I'm not reading something that I learned. I don't have to memorize it. It's there. It's like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Okay, well, but you remembered it. Coffee. But you don't have to have notes for that because you experienced, you lived it. I'm not reading something. I'm not reading a story. I'm not telling a story. I'm telling you what happened, what I experienced. And I'll tell you something else. When you interact personally, one-on-one with Jesus, you don't forget. You don't forget. Okay. Yes, I'm 77 years old. Yes, I have a memory that's insane. Yes, I remember absolutely everything. And I do remember everything in my life. Now, there is one thing that is kind of different, and that is this. Obviously, a lot of doctors have been trying to dissect what happened to me. They still can't explain it. And, of course, Harvard's been going through their neurologists and neurosurgeons, and they've been going through all the records. They're writing up in their medical journals as a true miracle. Well, they got all the MRIs and everything else, and they're going through the MRIs of the old brain and the new brain, and they're trying to figure it out.
They must be believers.
What?
They must be believers.
Well, there's one that is now, for sure. That's a neurologist.
Doctor,
Doctor, yeah. No, it's not him. I'm talking about the ones that are writing up for medical journals.
Oh, okay.
In going through the MRIs, they were comparing my old brain, my new brain. My new brain, and they contact me and says, what is this? And I says, what is what? He says, right in the middle of your brain, you have a little something there that we don't know what it is. It's not a calcium deposit. It's functioning. It's working. It's giving out electrical currents out of it, but it's not in any other brain we've ever seen. New improved Volkswagen. So, why it's there, I don't know. I didn't go into that, but he said he gave me a new brain. He literally did. And I am a walking, talking miracle. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I know several people who have committed suicide, and I'm wondering if it's possible that they're in heaven.
Yes.
Thank you.
Here's why. Suicide, You have to look at it two ways. I know the Bible says that suicide is the unpardonable sin. If you commit suicide, we've all heard of it. Suicide, you're going to hell. That's not true. That's not what they're talking about. Suicide that people do here are causing physical harm to this physical body. That has nothing to do with their destination. No more than a drug addict or an alcoholic or a disease deteriorates the body. You may not take medicine and enhance it and die. That's a form of, you could classify that as suicide. The suicide that he's talking about is what I talked about earlier. If you choose death, that's why they relate it to suicide, but that's a man choosing their opinion, but not their own set of facts. The suicide there is spiritual death. That's what he's talking about. And spiritual death entered when Adam and Eve sinned. And spiritual death is separation from God. So if they choose to reject God and not accept his payment, what Jesus did, and they say, no, I choose to be not part of that. You're choosing separation from God. That's what you will go to hell. That determines your destination. Because you choose to end your life here. The physical life has nothing to do with your destination. You may have stolen a lot of joy, caused a lot of pain, a lot of harm to friends and those around you. Those are sins. Those are all forgiven because all sins have been forgiven if they are a believer now. If they're not a believer, then that's what would send them to hell, not the suicide of the physical body. So yes, if they believe and you fall away or you get off kilter and you do that, yes, you still can go to heaven.
Aren't we supposed to wait until Christ returns before we go to heaven if we are to hell?
No, when you die, you're going to heaven.
Isn't that what?
All right, here we go. Once again, you're not entitled to your own set of facts, okay? In the end times, it says Jesus will return. I'm just going to touch on this real quickly. Jesus shall return and he will bring his saints with him. Did he not say that? Those saints are not just angels. He refers to that's symbolic of all the believers that have died already and have gone to heaven with him. Now, when he comes back, he's bringing all the angels, all the people that are in heaven, and he tells you right there they're there. How else would they get there? Right? Facts. Now they come back and it says, and those that are still remaining here on earth, that are alive, that are believers, true believers, will meet him in the clouds, correct? And then they will sit down upon the earth and the dead in Christ shall rise. We're going to be about another 3 hours if I tell you this one. The dead in Christ are those that are in paradise. When we come back, there's going to be a spiritual war. Why would he set all of these saints and those in heaven and us that we meet him in the clouds, why would we sit down on the earth? Remember, he does everything for a purpose. It's because those saints that were, not the saints, those people that were in paradise that got credited with righteousness that went to paradise, they are risen, dead in Christ. They still, no favoritism, have to get to heaven the same way you and I did. They have to accept the payment that Jesus did. They could not do it before. That's why they were credited with righteousness and went to paradise. But they believed in God. Now, when they are risen and we are here, our job is going to be to witness to each and every one of them what Jesus did, payment that he paid, and then, just like he did with us, he will give them the faith, and by grace, he'll pull them into everlasting life. They still have to get there through Jesus. No favoritism, facts. Why else would he say, I'm going to bring them back? 2 reasons. Number one, he also said, I'm going to create a new heavens and a new earth. Why would he create a new heavens? He already has one. Why would he create a new one? Did you ever ask yourself that question? Right? But why would he create a new one? Because he also said, remember, you got to read the whole thing, that the old shall pass away and the new shall come. He also said that the new heavens and the new earth, there shall never be sin ever touch it, nor had touched it. Sin had touched the heaven that's current. Satan, he cast him out. Oh, all of a sudden it starts to make sense, doesn't it? When you look at everything. And therefore he has to make a new one because sin will never have touched and will not touch the new heavens and the new earth. Because if it did, there could be temptation, there will be no temptation, and therefore it will never happen again. Now, why is he bringing them all with him? Why couldn't he just do it with us down here? He's cleaning heaven out. Why? Because he's going to burn down the old heaven and the old earth and everything up. It all will pass away. You can't pass it away if believers were in it, if the angels were in it, if the new believers were in it. Could you? No. Suddenly it makes sense. And the old heavens and all old things, the earth, the cosmos, all of it will be burned up. Now, why did he say burned up? What's hell? You see, he's going to create a new heavens and a new earth and a new dimension, never to touch this one. And this one then will all be consumed by fire that will never end being consumed by fire. Because the universe is continually expanding, is it not? So it will always continue as that. And as such, when those that do go to hell, then he's not sending them. They chose, they jump in. And the last thing that they will remember on the tip of their tongue is that I'm here falling, and they will fall for all of eternity. And I did say eternity because in hell, eternity, time continues. In the new heavens, new earth, it doesn't. Yeah, it's worse than you think. That's right. Heaven and earth, the new one, won't have that. Hell will. And they'll be falling forever, being tormented and everything else. And the last thing they will remember that will be on the tip of their tongue in their memory is this: I'm here because I chose it. My pride, my serving myself. All I had to do was accept his payment that he paid for me, and he loved me, and I chose not to. And they'll remember that and never forget it for all of eternity. Do you ever go someplace and want to get there and you never think you're ever going to get there? That's what it's going to be like for all of eternity. Hell's scary. It truly is. It truly is.
Does the Bible not say that there are aliens there?
There are no aliens. All right, aliens are demons. Satan is, I'm going to touch on this real quick. Satan is the best counterfeiter and deceiver that there is. He cannot steal. God says that when you are saved, no one can snatch you from my hand. No one. What part of no one do we not understand? Not even yourself. Not Satan, nobody. Your salvation is secure. Satan knows that. He cannot steal your salvation, but he can do something else. If he can get your eyes diverted off of Jesus onto something else, demons, aliens, oh my gosh, all kinds of crazy stuff, then look at that window. Look at it right now. Don't move. No, keep looking. Can you see what's going on over there in the foyer? No. So you see, if he gets you distracted looking at something else, your mind's not on Jesus, he's done two of the next best things that he could do. One, he can steal your joy and your peace and your witness. And if he can steal that, then maybe he can use that to influence somebody who hasn't come to Christ and keep them from coming. There's a battle going on with him. So his job is to deceive you. He's very powerful. Why do you think our Hellfire missiles won't shoot that thing down, they bounce off? Because it's not even real. Why do you think it goes? Because it's not real. That's a deception manifested by Satan. That doesn't mean that you can't have aliens in another space that he can be God of, yes. But as he said, it's not of your concern. It's never going to bother you. I'm your God. If I want to be a God to somebody else, he can do that. Okay?
Linda is a part of this church that takes care of everything. She's got some things going on and needs one of your magic hugs. Could you do that before she leaves? Would you mind?
I'll do more than that.
Maybe give her a blessing?
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. And you know you got mine throughout the day, every day.
Okay.
Thank you.
What
As you will.
the question? Oh, so yeah, it doesn't make any difference. It's not going to be it. Well, number one, you'll never get to any place. They have the Goldilocks zone and all that stuff. I understand all that. But you know what? Even traveling at speed of light, by the time you get there, it's further away and you never make it. It's not in your realm. So quit looking at that and going like, look at the other. Okay? Yes, ma'am. All over the world. Anywhere, any place, anytime. Huh? All they got to do is invite me. What's the conversation? Oh, we can continue about that for 16 hours. I've stood in front of him for 16 hours straight talking. So he'll never run out of stuff to talk about. Well, yeah, but I'd be happy to talk. Well, you're listening. First of all, thank you for saying that I'm helping you, but it's not me. When I'm talking to you, you have to understand, those are not my answers. I am not that smart. That's him talking to you. So that's what you got, answers directly from him. Untethered, not tainted, in its truth and spirit. And what he said to me, he says, Robert, when you go back, you cannot change anybody, you cannot convince anybody, and you cannot save anybody. He says, you are to share exactly what I gave you in truth and spirit. And by that I mean this. You don't add your opinion. You don't add your swing on it. You don't add your understanding. You present it exactly as I told you. He says, and then when you do that, he says, my word that you shared, my word, the living word, can convince, can change, and can save. Your job is done. They're going to reject you. Some will accept you. But your job is done. You cannot take it personal. Let me do my job. You do yours. I'm not going to argue with him. I know what he can do.
Did you write some of the beginning creation in one of your books?
Oh, yeah.
That Jesus shows?
Yes, multiple ones. Yeah, I just finished a book. I just finished a book this morning in the car while I was waiting on my computer, my laptop. Was 464 pages. It's done. I'll have to take it back now.
Yeah, I bought this book. I saw one of your interview. You said you wrote it in 11 hours.
Oh, yeah, that one was. Yeah, but I gotten better.
This one's better. Oh, yeah.
No, I gotten better. This one here took me about 11 hours. I was still learning, but now I'm typing between 400 and 500 words a minute.
How many words?
400 to 500
Oh, 400 to 500 words.
a minute
Oh.
on the keyboard.
Can I get this on Amazon?
No, you can get it right out there. Yeah, this is direct conversations and teachings that he gave me, yes. So is the next one.
Yeah, is it the Beyond Time?
Yes.
I think there's a, I wanted to get that one. So you don't forget any words in here?
Nothing.
Yeah, because I started reading it and I was like, there's the abide in me, just follow me. I thought, oh, well, like, did you, I was like, oh, well, he remembers everything. You finished 11 hours.
Well, now I've done one the last one I did, the last two. I just did one 2 days ago, which was 100 chapters I did it in an hour.
So is it for your own your revelation, or you remember something, the conversation you had?
No, he just tells me, write this down. I go, okay. And he gives me, I just go.
Oh, wow. Amen.
Somebody said I'm like Jesus' stenographer. His court reporter. I just write it down as he tells me. She's in Texas right now. She do what? She tries, but she says she has to get some rest. You see, you have to understand, she's still 77. Well, she's 76. I say she won't be 77 until May, or till September 16th. And she says, you remember, I get tired. See, I don't sleep.
You don't sleep?
No.
24 hours or just you
Oh,
take
I
a
think.
nap?
Well, I do every once in a while. I go and lay down just to. I used to mostly go down and lay and pray and just clear my mind. But I think the last time I was in bed was asleep. Like 10, 11 days ago.
Dang, oh, you still look so good. All alive, all awake.
Well, see, that's what I mean when I say I have to look at my watch, because I forget. I was talking in Houston, and I'm going on and on and on, 12 hours. And it's like I'm taking a break. I don't go to the bathroom. I don't do anything. And they're like, the pastor's like, we need to take a break. Okay. Why?
Everybody else is sleeping.
No, they're awake. I mean, but he goes, yeah. Oh, I said, okay. So now they try to remind me to make sure I take a break every 3, 4, or 5 hours. Not for me. Usually, what happens is they'll go to the break and I'll start talking to other people and signing books and different things like that. But
What about eating? Do you feel you need too much?
no, I eat when if I like the food, I want to. But yeah, I don't have to eat that much either. Yeah, I don't. I'll eat when I want.
You don't get sleepy at night?
No, I work. I get to write. I get to type. I get to do songs. No, I don't get tired. I'm serious. When I was in Yuba City, I started at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I had to chase them out of there because I never took a break. And I stood there and talked. They keep trying to give me chairs, sit down in a chair. I'm going, what? I don't want a chair. But you're old. I go, when he tells me to do that, I do that, and it's maybe every 10 days, a couple of weeks, he'll say, go ahead, take a break. I say, all right, I will. I listen to him. I do that a lot. I'm sorry. Oh, you're welcome. Let me give you a hug. right when you're late. I don't leave prayer. When I'm talking, I'm praying. Well, that's another thing, okay?
I think this side's still.
Yeah, that one. Oh, you want me to turn it off? Yeah.
No, I'm good. So here's the thing, and this is what people don't understand. I don't think that one they have to do it over there. Don't worry about it. No, that just disconnect. Well, that'll turn it off for sure.